What is up, Packer fans? Back again. Packers coming off a loss in London to the Giants. Really a tough loss to watch. Packers were up 20-10 at halftime and just were not able to make the proper adjustments in the second half to keep pace with the Giants, and they lost the game. Really, really tough because, the Packers looked so good on offense in the first half. They were able to move the ball. The defense was able to stop the Giants for the most part. And it looked like the Packers had all the momentum. Packers only ran the ball 19 times, though. 6 for Dillon, 13 for Jones. 21 touches total because Jones added 2 catches. But they really need to be at about 30 touches for the game. Really not where you want your 2 top backs to be at when it comes, down to it. They had a lot of times during the game that they should have ran the ball, 3rd and 2, 4th and 2 at the end of the game, and then on that 3 and out they had in between the 2 scoring drives for the Giants that flipped the score. You need to be able to run the ball there, keep possession, allow your defense to rest, and it just was a really big momentum swing having that happen at such a pivotal moment in the game. After that 16-play, 91-yard, 8-minute drive by the Giants offense, the Packers got the ball, 3 throws in a row, incomplete. They went 3 and out. Rodgers and LaFleur stood by their decisions on those plays. They said they really liked the calls against the defense. It just didn't work out. And when it doesn't work out, it doesn't look like it was the right call. When it does work out, it is. They said some of those throws they hit in other games, some like the Cobb, and for big plays and first downs, and it just didn't get executed properly. So really tough though, and at such a pivotal moment in the game, like I said, running the ball there, putting you at like 2nd and 6 or 7, just getting a few yards, and then maybe throw something, a quick little screen, try to get out in the flats and try to make it a 3rd and manageable, and then really try to get that first down to keep a drive alive. Punting it right back to the Giants there, it was probably Pat O'Donnell's worst punt of the season, for one. And then the Giants actually bounced off a Giants punt return guy, and it was a fumble, and Keyshawn Nixon tried to land on it, and it squirted out of bounds at the 40. A play the Packers, it really could have been a huge momentum swing for the Packers right there, especially after a bad 3 and out. And obviously the Giants kept possession. Packers defense was exhausted. Really quick, they hit Saquon on a drag route for 40 yards. They had Breida next to Jones in the shotgun. Saquon down like in the tight ends position, just, next to the tackle. And he ran a quick drag right in front of both linebackers, caught the ball and was gone. Made a move on Darnell Savage, who missed the tackle. And 40 yards later down the sideline, to cap, they didn't score. He didn't score on that play, but they were able to cap a 6-play, 60-yard touchdown drive that switched the lead now from the Packers that were up 20-13 before. Now they're down 27-20 after that long 91-yard drive, the 3 and out, and then the quick 60-yard drive, the 6-play, 60-yard drive. So really tough to watch there. The Packers just couldn't get anything going in that second half. Early in the second, they got close to field goal range and then got sacked out of it. They punted. That's what started the 91-yard drive for the Giants. They went 3 and out. Then the Giants came right back, and now the Packers were down with 6 minutes to go, and that's when they went on their drive and stalled out in the goal line. The goal line's, the red zone's been Rodgers' money area, the gold zone for so long, and now the Packers seem to really struggle when they get down there. And, it's understandable. Obviously, the defense has 11 guys, so there's 11 defenders in a much tighter area. You have your guys trying to run routes with a lot less space, and it's just way more congested. And obviously, it's harder to run the ball and throw the ball just because everybody's, all condensed into a smaller area. Packers, though, they need to be able to scheme guys open. They need to be able to call the right plays at the right times. 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2, especially that 4th and 2, you saw Josh Myers push his guy all the way into the end zone. Dillon would have followed right behind him, got the first down for sure, and probably scored on that play. If not, got super close, extending the drive at least. And giving the Packers 4 more downs to try to score and keeping the game going and all those things. So just tough. And the fact that the Packers have been struggling against these teams these last weeks is not really hopeful for the future, because the Packers are basically full health. We know Chris Barnes is out, but he's the number 3 inside linebacker. And we know that Sammie Watkins has 1 more week or so before he comes back from the hamstring. He was the leading receiver before that, but Lazard and Cobb have kind of picked up the slack. Dobbs has played well. And the Packers, though, for the most part, full health. Tampa, they were down Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, and they took us to a 2-point conversion right before the end of the game that we needed to make a big stop on. And because of a delay game, we got a second chance. The Patriots didn't have their starting quarterback, Mike Jones, and Bailey Zappi took us to the very end of overtime. And if Crosby would have missed that kick, we would have tied. And then the Giants, they didn't have 5 guys travel with them to London, including their top 3 wide receivers, Kenny Galladay, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Kadarius Toney. Just, you can't have a team that has so many injuries and issues with players being available and struggle that much against them, because you are at full health. And if these teams were at full health, I mean, who knows how lopsided it would have been if Tom Brady would have had all of his weapons. It's a week later, he did have all 3 of those guys back. I think Mac Jones is back with the Patriots, and the Giants should be getting their guys back too. So Packers really need to step up. You have all your guys, and it seems like they're getting schemed out of position on defense. They were just so tired coming out on that 6-play, 60-yard drive that took the lead for the Giants. I mean, they just gave up a 91-yard drive, an 8-minute drive. The Packers only had the ball. It was 40 seconds, but for each play. But I mean, that's what, 120 seconds, and then you punt. So it's not that long. Rodgers was trying to say, well, it's the same whether you pass it or throw it, how much time runs off. But you still had a 3 and out. So it's just not long enough, regardless of those things. And obviously the clock stops on an incompletion, so play clock time didn't run off, but he was saying that the same amount of rest time happens, whether you run it or pass it, because that 40 seconds runs off either way as the play clock. So just not a good look for the Packers, being up 20-10, being in London, having all those things going their way early on. Rodgers had 2 touchdown passes in the first half, and then just nothing doing in the second half. Should have really ran the ball more, like I said. Only 19 carries for our running backs. And Cobb led the Packers with 7 catches for 99 yards as basically a wide receiver 3-4. On most teams, to be number 1 receiver for the Packers, we need our guys to start stepping up more. And if that means through the running game, just let's start running the ball. Let's make a commitment to having these guys, Jones and Dillon, get 30 touches a game and then spread the ball around from there. But it starts with those guys. I think if they would have touched the ball more on those third down, or the third and fourth down and 2s, we would have had a different outcome. And if on that 3 and out, if we would have ran the ball 3 times, it would have been a different outcome as well. But it is what it is at this point. And now the Packers, coming off of a, so-so performance where they did some good things but a lot more bad things. Now they have the New York Jets, who are riding high after a big, big win against the Miami Dolphins, coming into Lambeau this weekend. Breece Hall had 2 catches for 100 yards. That was, and Zach Wilson only had 210 yards passing in the game, but, it's another game back for him, coming off an injury, so he's going to be excited, ready to rock, coming to Lambeau. And, Breece Hall had 97 yards on the ground to add to that. I did like Breece in college. He was really probably the best running back coming out of the draft. And the Jets hit on all their draft picks. Breece Hall, 2nd rounder. Garrett Wilson, number 10, I think. Jermaine Johnson was like the 26th. They traded up for him. And then Sauce Gardner, number 4. He had a pick last week. So they really, really did well drafting this year. And like I said, Zach Wilson last year. So the Jets, they were bad for so long. Eventually you start hitting on your picks, and then you're going to be a better team. You're going to have all these first rounders, and they had 3 this year. So they have a lot of guys that are good and a lot of guys that are just going to keep getting better. But in a game where the Dolphins made it 17-19. They were losing 17-19 midway through the third. The Jets got the ball back, and literally scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to make the final score 40-17. The Miami Dolphins, they didn't have Tua, they didn't have Teddy Bridgewater. I think they had like Skylar Thompson in the game, so nothing, too crazy. They ran the ball a lot with Raheem Mostert, but the Jets did everything they needed to do. They had got some turnovers. They had really, great field position on those 3 scoring drives. None of them were very long. One was like a 1-play, 5-yard drive, so not super impressive, but they still, they got the ball. The defense did their job, and they were able to capitalize, and that's what it's all about. You can't help where you get the ball. You just have to capitalize wherever you get it, and they were able to do that. The Jets had forced 2 turnovers, like I said, 1 pick by Sauce Gardner, and then a forced fumble, and these young guys, like I said, Sauce had a pick. Garrett Wilson already had a big, couple 100-yard games. And Jermaine Johnson, he's still coming on, but he is a threat off the edge. But they do have other guys who are really, really good coming off the edge, like Carl Lawson, like I said. So Zach Wilson, 14-21, 210 yards last week. No picks, no touchdowns, no turnovers at all. But a good, first game back for him, getting the win, completing 67% of his passes. Just what you want to see out of him. The running backs, though, Breece Hall, 18 carries, 97 yards like I was talking about, and a touchdown. Michael Carter, though, 10 carries, only 21 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. And Braxton Berrios, 1 carry, 15 yards. He had a touchdown on an end around, and then Zach Wilson had a touchdown as well. Just a lot of productivity from their running game. Like I said, they had shortened fields, and they were able to capitalize, but still impressive for this young Jets team. Breece Hall was their leading receiver, only 2 catches, 100 yards, but Corey Davis, 2 catches, 38 yards. Garrett Wilson, 3 catches, 27 yards. So not a lot of productivity from their wide receivers last week, but they really didn't need it. Elijah Moore only had 1 catch for 11 yards, but we know that each of those 3 guys are capable of going off for over 100 yards, and obviously we are starting to see what Breece Hall can do. It's going to be tough for this Packers team to really match up in zone against these guys. I'd prefer them go man-to-man against these really good receivers. Not a lot of teams have 3 really good receivers. The Jets are one of them. It seems like Tampa is one of them. There's just the Bengals do. There's just not a lot of teams that have 3 really, really good receivers. So it is going to be important for the Packers to be super sound in coverage and with their communications and all those things. The Jets even have 2 really big tight ends. They have Tyler Conklin and C.J. Uzama, the Bengals' old tight ends. So 2 really big guys, 2 guys that can run, 2 guys that can really catch well, and this offense is looking like they have some pieces now. Kind of a 2-headed running back monster with, like I said, with Breece Hall and Michael Carter, and then Zach Wilson throwing it around the yard to these playmakers. 3 good receivers, 2 good tight ends. It's going to be a great matchup for this Packers defense, but I think they match up well. They can man-to-man the receivers, and then they could have Walker, and Campbell, covering the tight ends or the running backs out of the backfield. Amos helping with the running backs and tight ends, and then Savage, doubling either side of the field, trying to help on one of the receivers going deep or whatever, just trying to keep things in front of them. So I think they match up well. They just have to scheme it up and do it. So when the Packers have the ball, though, the offensive line has been playing really well. Not a lot of sacks given up in the last 3 weeks. I don't think the Giants really got after Rodgers at all. Batted some balls, but not a lot of sacks. Same thing with the Patriots, only 1, and same thing with Tampa Bay, only got to him once. So really big for the Packers to be able to block up front, but just hasn't resulted in a lot of great plays for the offense. So this Jets defense, like I said, Sauce Gardner got a pick last week. He's really starting to come on. He's a guy that is going to be a lockdown corner in this league, no doubt. They have Quan Alexander. He's the veteran linebacker. DJ Reed. CJ Mosley, the guy they paid a lot for, coming over from Baltimore. Carl Lawson, like I mentioned, the edge rusher for the Niners. He got a sack last week. And then Jordan Whitehead at safety. Quinnen Williams in the middle. John Franklin Myers, he split a sack. He was the one that split a sack with Quinnen Williams last week. So they have a lot of players on this defense. A lot of guys that played really well for a long time, on other teams and have come over here to really try to make this Jets team better. That's why they went out and got Corey Davis as well, receiver. But, they didn't think they were going to add Elijah Moore and have him be so good and then get Garrett Wilson the next year. So the Jets really stacked up on really good players on both sides of the ball, really. Their offensive line, they have Dwayne Brown back, the old veteran at left tackle. He played last week. He'll be back for the game against the Packers. Laken Tomlinson at left guard, Connor McGovern at center, Elijah Vera Tucker, I'm sure you've heard that name, at right guard. So they have a really solid offensive line. It's going to be tough for our defense to get after Zach Wilson, and then he's got weapons to throw to on the outside. So, and then Breece Hall behind him. So it's really going to be tough for this Packers defense. Rashawn Gary, like I said, he had a sack taken away from him. Really tough. He had 5 sacks on the season in 4 games. Now he would have had 5 or 6 sacks in 5 games, and a 5-game streak. But that got taken away from him last week when Savage and Douglas both had illegal contacts on separate play. It stripped a Jaron Reed sack, and it stripped a Rashawn Gary sack. Preston Smith sack stuck, but that was the only one of the game then. Would have had 3, had 0, or had 1. And, just a lot of weird penalties. Rasul Douglas slammed a guy to the ground. That was a call. We've seen it happen here and there, but then sometimes it happens and they don't call it. So you just wonder what the difference is in some of these, and we've seen a lot of bad calls. Tell me what you guys think about the call on Tom Brady, the unnecessary roughness, roughing the passer by Grady Jarrett, the Falcons guy that threw him down. And then tell me what you think about Derek Carr getting strip sack, fumbled, and having them call a roughing the passer penalty on Chris Jones on that one. I've never seen a guy with the ball get called for roughing the passer. So very odd, but tell me what you guys think in the comments. And, the Packers have been screwed by that in the past. We saw Clay Matthews, that game against the Vikings, where he hit Cousins and he threw it up. He threw a pickup, and I think Alexander picked it, and they called on this roughing the passer. So just tough. It's a lot of teams get the calls against them, and it really hurts. But that Tom Brady one was really kind of just not good because he was around his waist and kind of, what is he supposed to do? And then Chris Jones, what's he supposed to do? Just disappear. That's what I think Joe Buck said. What's he supposed to do? Disappear. So just crazy. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. So. The Packers are going to have to be stout against this offensive line. They're going to have to be stout against these playmakers. And Zach Wilson is a guy who will throw you interceptions. He will try to, fit it into tight areas. And I think the Packers will have at least 2 or 3 opportunities to make picks in this game. They've been so out of position, though, it seems like. So 1 interception in 5 games with this back end, with Stokes first rounder, Jair first rounder, Savage first rounder. I don't understand it. Obviously, Walker's a first rounder. There's so many guys out there, and we just can't get a pick. Campbell hasn't got one. I mean, no one's gotten an interception besides Jair Alexander that week 2 against the Bears. And he just made an amazing play. It wasn't even a bad throw by Justin Fields. It was just an amazing play by Jair Alexander. So this defense is really going to have its work cut out for it. And we keep seeing them get schemed out of position and just look like they're, guys are wide open. And it always seems like the Packers guys are never wide open and the opponent is always running wide open. So hopefully this Packers offense can get after them. But this Jets defense, like I said, John Franklin Myers at the edge. Sheldon Rankins is, played for the Browns. He's a really solid defensive lineman. Quinton Williams in the middle. He's just a monster. Carl Lawson off the edge. Quincy Williams, C.J. Mosley, and Quan Alexander. Those are really good linebackers that can run. C.J. Mosley, they paid him a lot of money to come over here for the Jets and play middle linebacker for them. And then, DJ Reed at corner, Sauce Gardner at corner. Those are really good corners. And then Michael Carter as the nickel, Michael Carter the second and nickel. And then they have LaMarcus Joyner, who they paid a lot to come over from the Rams. He's undersized. I think he's like 5'8", but this guy plays like a dog. He's got, he's really talented. And then Jordan Whitehead is kind of a ball hawk safety on the back end too. So this Jets team, they really, after years and years of not being very good, they really started to put together a team that, can be formidable. And obviously at 3-2, same record as the Packers, they're both going to be looking for big wins. The Packers coming off a tough loss in London, and the Jets coming off a big win against Miami. They're the kind of the surprise of the AFC, and definitely the surprise of the AFC East. The Dolphins were projected to be up there in the playoff hunt. Now, obviously, Tua's hurt and everything. That's tough. But they're 3-2 now with the Jets, tied for second. But the Jets have the tiebreaker. Buffalo's obviously in the lead, but the Jets keep playing like this, they could be in the playoff hunt, and I don't think a lot of people had them there, except for, diehard New York Jets fans. So this is going to be a really big game for the Packers. It's kind of a trap game because, they have this last home game after going to London. They lost that one. They should have won. But now, if they lose this one and they have to go on a 3-game road stretch, it's going to be tough. I mean, they have at Commanders, at Lions, at Buffalo. And, if they can win 2 out of 3 of those, that's good. But likely they'll be 1-3 in those games. So if they are 3-3 going into those, or they're 1-2 in those games. So if they're 3-3 going in because they lose against the Jets, now they come back home and they have a losing record. The Cowboys come to Lambeau on November 13th. That's the next time they have a home game after this Sunday. So, the rest of October and then through the, almost first 2 weeks of November, the Packers will be on the road. And that's going to be a tough stretch. Obviously, the Commanders, a team we don't play often. The Lions, division opponent who has been really up and down. Number 1 in offense, number 32 in defense. That's crazy. They scored crazy amounts of points. They're leading the league in points per game up until last week when they scored 0 against the Patriots. I actually predicted the Lions would win that game because the Patriots, had struggled a little bit against the Packers. But, the fact that they blew them out so much, maybe the Packers won't struggle against the Lions that bad. It just seemed like the Lions were playing well and had something going there, So worried me a little bit more before. Now I think, the Packers could get after them. Commanders, to me, I think the Packers will be the better team. They should be able to win that game in Washington, but those are tough games. Packers have lost those games, especially on the road, especially against teams not in their division. So that'll be something. And then obviously at Buffalo, with how Buffalo is playing, how Gabriel Davis, how Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs are all playing, that's going to be something to watch. So this is a huge game for the Packers to get to 4-2, knock the Jets to 3-3 and have the Packers be 4-2 going on this road stretch. That, you don't want to lose games, obviously, but if you win this one, you can afford to maybe lose one of those road games. Otherwise, if you lose this game to the Jets, you almost have to win those 3 road games. Otherwise, you're going to be 3-6, and the Vikings are 4-1 right now, and I doubt that they lose, 3 or 4 of their next 4 games. They likely will at least split them, if not be better, only lose 1, and that's tough. I'll have to see who the Vikings play, but not really important right now. Like I said, though, the Packers, if they beat the Jets or however this week goes against the Jets, they have 3 games on the road, and then the Cowboys come to Lambeau, and that's a tough game to come back to Lambeau for. You're hoping after your tough road stretch, you maybe get kind of a freebie when you get back to Lambeau, but no, you got the Dallas Cowboys coming to town. You got Ezekiel Elliott, you got CeeDee Lamb. We'll see who is quarterback, Dak Prescott or Cooper Rush at that point. We'll see if they have a QB controversy. Cooper Rush is 5-0 as a Cowboys quarterback, and Dak lost the first game of the season, so we will see how that goes, but either way, this is a really big game for the Packers. The Jets, they're the surprise team, and these guys are getting confident, and they got Zach Wilson back after, having Flacco be out there for a little bit. Now they're starting to get a little bit of chemistry with these young guys. Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson haven't played that much, and neither has Elijah Moore and Zach Wilson. They're all still so young, so that team is just going to keep getting better. It's going to be so important for the Packers to come out, jump on this team early like they did against the Giants, and try to, maintain the lead. Hopefully take the ball out of Breece Hall's hand a little bit, take it out of the running back's hand, force Zach Wilson to throw under pressure, things like that. But the Packers really have to get back to what worked when they beat, the Bears and the Patriots, not so much against Tampa, but they ran the ball so well. They ran the ball a lot. They ran the ball efficiently. There was a 2-headed monster. A.J. Dillon really, rammed the ball down the field, and Aaron Jones was the ground player of the week against the Bears. You got to get back to that. use the running game to set up the passing game for these young guys. Don't put so much pressure on these young guys in an old Randall Cobb to, be this dynamic receiving or passing offense. It's just not going to be that right now. Allow it to develop still. Allow your guys to get to where they need to be. It's still only week, it was week 5. Now it's going to be week 6. It's still so early for a lot of these rookies, and you need these guys to, keep developing. Watson was hurt a little bit. Dobbs, and Watson had that big, confidence knock the first week because he wanted to go deep to him on the first play of the season. So, and have everybody chatter about it now. So now, it's just, you got to think about things like that, especially with these young guys. You got to allow them to come on slowly and, use this run game. Why do you have, Jenkins and Bakhtiari back, and then have a two-headed monster at running back if you're just going to keep throwing it to Randall Cobb? I just don't understand it. Why not run the ball, set up play action, and then hit him down the field. You have Watson, if you set up the run, and then hit him with play action, maybe Watson can get past the guy, and maybe we can hit him for a big play. There really hasn't been any big plays on offense. No real deep shots, no big long runs, not a lot. Nothing that's been like over 50 yards, and that's kind of where the Packers have made their money over the years on those big plays, broken plays, Rodgers scrambling. But with the young guys, they're not sure that scramble drill isn't as cohesive as it used to be with Devontae and Jordy, guys like that, James Jones. So they're not really sure where to go, where Rodgers wants them yet, and that, kind of eliminates the threat of a lot of those. So it's important that they just allow them to come on and run the ball and play good defense, kind of like they were doing. They were really holding teams, to little points, 12 points for Tampa, and the Bears only scored, I think, 10. So they were really doing well early on in the season. 15 points per game after the first 3 games, and then I think it went to like 18 points per game. But now it's added to that now again with the 27-point outing by the Giants. So Packers just have to bounce back. They have to really go over what went wrong against the Giants, why their adjustments didn't work, whatever ones they made. A lot of people are saying LaFleur's not good at making adjustments. He just hasn't been able to make the right adjustments or whatever. But a lot of it's just execution. Lazard said it himself. It's not, it's never really the play call that's the issue. It's just executing what's called. All these plays are NFL quality plays. All these guys are NFL quality players. And it's just about executing the play that's called. And sometimes, for certain situations, maybe it's a boneheaded play call, or maybe you shouldn't do a 3 end-around reverse, on 2nd and 2 when you really just need to run. There's things that you shouldn't do in certain situations. But Lazard was just saying, regardless of what plays are called, we have to just execute it. And obviously there's a lot of plays they wish they could get back. After the first batted ball, the last thing I thought was another batted ball, and that's what happened. So, it's such a disheartening way to lose the game, especially, obviously when you throw it, you have a lot more options of who you can throw it to. But it seemed like Rodgers was fixated on the one guy, and then the 4th down play, he was only going to Lazard the whole time, and that's just like all your eggs in one basket. Don't give Rodgers an option to run it for the first down. You want to try to extend the plays in the game as long as you can, in order to get the first down. I really think they should have just ran it up the middle with Dillon. It looked like there was a gap there. He would have at least fallen forward for the first down. 3rd and 2, 4th and 2. Give him 2 chances up the middle. Spread them out and give it to Dillon up the middle. I think he gets there, at least the first, so you can go on and, then you can start calling your big body throws when you have a new set of downs. 1st and goal from like the 3 it would have been. Then you could do your big body fades and things like that. But not on 4th and 2 when you have to have it. I wouldn't do it. So we need a bounce back game here. Packers need to win this one. They need to start this road stretch here 4-2. If they start at 3-3, this 2022 season could really snowball downhill really quickly for the Packers, and it's important that they stay ahead of, stay with the Vikings if the Vikings are going to be this team that is really tough to beat. Obviously, the Packers struggled early on, but Vikings have been in a lot of close games, but they've been able to win it, even this last week against the Bears. So it's going to be important that the Packers keep pace with them, win these tough games, win these games that they should win, and hopefully sneak out some games that they shouldn't win like they have been. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel and check out other videos. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at S_Joseph_K. And thank you guys for watching. Peace out. Go Pack Go. And I'll see you guys next time.